The chamber was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. Ambassador David Ross stood alone on a platform that floated in the center of a massive spherical room. Above him, below him, and all around him sat representatives from hundreds of alien species. The air shimmered with translation fields that turned thousands of alien voices into words he could understand. This was the Galactic Council, the power that ruled most of the known galaxy. And they were not happy with Earth. High Chancellor Vex leaned forward from his throne. His scales gleamed under the chamber lights and his three eyes fixed on David with cold fury. Ambassador Ross, you stand accused of the most serious crime in council law. Do you understand the charges? David kept his voice steady. I understand them perfectly. The council chamber erupted in angry shouts. Aliens of every shape and size demanded justice, punishment, blood. David waited for the noise to die down. He had expected this reaction. In fact, he had planned for it. Then you admit, Vex continued, that Earth has been building weapons in secret. That while you sat in these halls speaking of peace and friendship, your people were preparing for war? I admit that we prepared to defend ourselves, David said clearly. Yes. Counselor Rill of the Peaceful Union raised her glowing appendages. Her species had been part of the council for thousands of years. Ambassador Ross, please help us understand. Earth joined the council 20 years ago. We welcomed you. We shared our technology. We offered you protection. Why would you betray that trust? David looked up at her. She seemed genuinely hurt, which made what he had to say even harder. Because we studied your history, Counselor. And we found a pattern? Prosecutor Torn moved into the light. His serpent-like body coiled as he held up a data crystal. We have evidence from our intelligence sources. Video of Earth's hidden military bases, pictures of your weapons. Shall I show the council what you've built while pretending to be our friend? Please do, David said calmly. The holographic displays activated throughout the chamber. Every council member could now see what Earth had been hiding. Massive space stations covered in weapons. Planetary defense shields. Drone armies numbering in the billions. Technology that shouldn't exist on such a young world. What you see, Torn announced triumphantly, is a species that wore the mask of friendship while building an arsenal in the dark. This is exactly how the Valthene Collective behaved before they tried to conquer half the galaxy. This is how the Morphid Unity acted before they released their plagues. The Council has seen this pattern before. Yes, you have, David interrupted. His voice cut through the chamber clearly. You've seen it 17 times in your recorded history. 17 times a species joined the Council, gained your trust, and then used that trust to position themselves for conquest. He turned slowly, meeting the eyes of council members who had started to shift uncomfortably in their seats. And do you know what we found most interesting about those 17 cases? In every single one, there were warning signs. Unusual military buildups. Strange requests for technology. Territorial expansion. And in every single case, this council ignored those warnings because the aggressor had become your friend. Scales flushed a dark red. You dare compare your treachery to our past failures? We're not comparing, David said. We're learning from them. When Earth first made contact with the Council, we were terrified. We had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. We had no idea what waited for us in the galaxy. Then you welcomed us. You offered friendship, protection, and a place at the table of galactic civilization. His expression hardened. And then we started noticing things. Small things at first. The way you pressured us to disarm our defensive satellites. How you asked very specific questions about Earth's location, our population centers, our resources. The way certain council members wanted detailed information about our military capabilities. This is outrageous. Counselor Bren roared from his section of the chamber. We are the Council. We have maintained galactic peace for 19,000 years, David finished for him. Interrupted by 47 major wars, 200 genocides, and the complete extinction of 90 species who trusted you to protect them. The holographic displays changed. Now they showed star charts, battle records. and diplomatic communications marked with council seals. 3 months ago, David said, dropping his voice, Earth intelligence intercepted communications between the Krell, Dominion, and the Quaylen hierarchy. Would the council like to know what they said? Vex's head swiveled toward the Krell representative, who had suddenly gone very still. They were planning to invade Earth, David continued. The Krell would take our resource-rich continents. The Quaylen would claim our oceans. The human population would be redistributed. That's a polite word for enslaved. Lies. Vex thundered, but his voice lacked strength. The attack was scheduled for 6 weeks from now. During the Festival of Unity, when Earth's defensive fleets would be scattered across the galaxy, escorting council dignitaries. They counted on our trust. Our desire to belong. Our weakness. David smiled, but there was no warmth in it. They counted on us being like every other species you've welcomed into this. Organization, naive, grateful, helpless. Temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. But here's what they didn't count on, David said softly. Humanity has only been in space for 2 centuries. Before that, we spent 10,000 years doing one thing better than any other species in this galaxy. We killed each other. He let the silence build. We've had 67 major wars in recorded history. We invented weapons that could destroy continents. We poisoned our own air and water. We built machines capable of ending all life on our planet 100 times over. We reached the stars not because we were enlightened, but because we were desperate to escape what we had become. David turned to face Vex directly. So when we came out here and saw the council, we wanted it to be real. We wanted to believe in peace and cooperation. We thought maybe we could finally be better than what we were. We wanted to leave the violence behind. His hands clenched into fists. But we're not stupid. We know what we are. We know what we're capable of. So yes, while we were smiling and voting on trade agreements, we were also building, planning, preparing for the day when the mask would slip and we'd see the truth. The holographic displays shifted again, showing real-time feeds from Earth's hidden installations, weapons platforms activating, fleet assets deploying, defense grids coming online across human space. The Krell and Quaylen wanted to attack in 6 weeks, David said. We're not giving them that chance. Earth is withdrawing from the Council. We're recalling our diplomats, our trade vessels, our people. Any ship that enters human space without permission will be destroyed. This is war. Someone screamed. No, David corrected, his eyes blazing. This is survival. You taught us that in this galaxy, trust is a weapon and friendship is a trap. You taught us that the only thing you respect is strength. He raised his wrist communicator. Captain Rivera, are you receiving? A woman's voice filled the chamber. Yes, Ambassador. Execute Directive Omega. Confirmed. 30 seconds. The council erupted in chaos, but David simply stood there, counting down. When he reached 0, every display flickered and changed. They were looking at Krell Prime, the fortress world that had never fallen in 3,000 years. Its massive planetary, shields, and orbital defenses were legendary. And they watched as every single one of those defenses shut down. Complete silence filled the chamber. David said into the quiet, "Is what humanity has been building. We've been learning about you, about your technology, about every weakness in every system you use." He looked around one final time. The demonstration will end in 60 seconds, and Krell Prime's defenses will return. Consider it a courtesy. But know this, if anyone moves against Earth, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll show you why we're the species that learned to split atoms just to kill each other. We'll show you what 10,000 years of constant warfare taught us. He walked toward the exit. Ambassador Ross. Real called out. What does Earth want? David paused without turning. To be left alone? To prove we can be better? But if you won't let us, he glanced back over his shoulder. Then we'll show you our other side. The doors sealed behind him, and the council was left with a terrifying new truth. Humanity had been playing a game they'd all lost before it began, 20 years earlier. Earth's first contact with the Galactic Council had been everything humanity hoped for. Commander James Blake stood on the bridge of the Earthship Horizon, watching as the Council welcome fleet materialized around them. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species, their hulls gleaming, broadcasting messages of peace in every human language. They're beautiful, his second in command. Lieutenant Emma Cross whispered they were beautiful. For a species that had wondered if they were alone in the universe, this moment should have been pure joy. But James Blake had been a soldier long before he became an explorer, and soldiers learned to spot danger hiding behind friendly faces. Too perfect, he murmured. Nobody is this welcoming without wanting something. Formal first contact ceremony happened aboard the Council diplomatic vessel, Unity. James and his team were escorted through corridors that changed colors to match their emotions, past artwork that seemed designed specifically for human eyes, into a chamber where Ambassador Tal waited. Tal was humanoid enough to seem familiar, but alien enough to be fascinating. Her skin shimmered with rainbow colors, and her eyes radiated warmth. "Commander Blake," she said in perfect English. "On behalf of 900 civilizations in the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity. You are safe here. You are home." James shook her offered hand, noting the strength in her grip and the calculation in her eyes. "We're honored, Ambassador. And surprised. We're such a young species. We didn't expect such enthusiasm." "Every species that reaches for the stars deserves our support," Tal assured him. "The Council protects its own." "And what does this protection require?" Tal's expression didn't change, but James saw the flash of satisfaction in her eyes. "Simply friendship, Commander. Simply trust." Back on Earth, Dr. Rebecca Torres reviewed the contact reports with growing concern. As director of the Office of Alien Relations, it was her job to guide humanity's entry into galactic society. But something about the Council's eagerness bothered her. "They're offering us everything," her assistant Peter Wright said excitedly. "Medical technology that could extend human lifespans by centuries. Better, faster than light drives. Access to trade networks spanning the galaxy. And asking for very little," Rebecca noted. "Doesn't that seem odd?" "They're being generous." "Nobody is generous in politics, Peter. Not on Earth, and probably not out there either." She pulled up the Council charter on her screen. "They want us to join their mutual defense agreement, to integrate our military with theirs, to share complete intelligence about our capabilities. Standard alliance requirements, maybe?" Rebecca highlighted a section. "But look at this clause. Any member species facing an existential threat can request Council intervention. And the Council decides what constitutes a threat." Peter frowned. "You think it's a trap?" "I think we need more information before we trust 300 alien civilizations we know nothing about." She opened a secure channel to Admiral Victor Hayes, commander of Earth's defensive forces. "Admiral, I need you to do something for me. Something secret." 3 months into first contact, a small team of human intelligence operatives began what would be called the Archive Project. Their mission was to gather information about Council history, specifically looking for patterns in how they absorbed new species. Dr. Nathan Cross led the effort. What he found in the Council's public archives was interesting. What he found in their restricted databases, accessed through highly illegal methods, was terrifying. "Rebecca, you need to see this," he said during a late-night secure call. His face looked haunted. "I've been comparing species admission dates with historical records. There's a pattern." He showed her a chart. "Every time an advanced species joins the Council, within 5 to 10 years, one of two things happens. Either they become completely integrated, their military absorbed, their independence dissolved, or they disappear. Records get deleted. History becomes vague." Rebecca felt ice in her stomach. "How many?" "At least 40 species over 3,000 years. And before they disappeared, everyone was flagged by the Council for having concerning military buildups, which gives the Council justification for intervention. Under the treaty we're being asked to sin." Rebecca's mind raced. "We can't refuse outright. That would make them suspicious. But we can't sign either. So what do we do?" She smiled grimly. We play the game. We sign the treaty, we join the council, we smile and cooperate. And while we're doing that, we prepare for the day they show their true nature. The message from Rebecca reached Earth's Joint Chiefs within hours. It was brief and encrypted. We're walking into a trap. Recommend immediate contingency protocols. Codename Harmony's Edge. Admiral Hayes read the full intelligence report 3 times before calling an emergency session. In a bunker beneath Geneva, Earth's military and civilian leadership gathered to make a decision that would define humanity's future. The Council is a predator organization, Rebecca explained, displaying the evidence. They find promising young species, welcome them. Strip away their defenses in the name of peace. Then either absorb them or eliminate them. That's one interpretation, Secretary General Helen Park countered. Another is that the Council maintains stability by integrating dangerous species before they become threats. Either way, we're the prey, Admiral Hayes said. Do we accept that, or do we prepare to fight? General Marcus Webb leaned forward. We prepare, but not obviously. We give them exactly what they expect, a grateful species thrilled to join. We share some technology, not our best. We integrate some systems, not our critical ones. We make them think we're following the same path as everyone else. And while we do that, Helen asked. Marcus smiled coldly. While we do that, we remember what we are. We're the species that survived ice ages and plagues and world wars. We're survivors. And survivors always have a backup plan. The next 20 years were a masterclass in deception. On the surface, Earth became the Council's model member. Human diplomats attended every session. Human scientists collaborated on research projects. Human merchants established trade relationships. Human military officers participated in joint exercises, learning council tactics and sharing carefully edited information. But beneath that cooperation, Earth was building. Dr. Lisa Morgan headed the Black Lab Initiative, hidden research facilities scattered across the solar system. Their job was simple: adapt everything humanity knew about warfare for the galactic stage. The Council thinks in terms of big fleets and obvious force, she told her team. They've been fighting the same way for thousands of years, so we don't build bigger ships. Her lead engineer, Robert Kim, concluded. We build smarter weapons. They developed code that could infect alien computers, weapons tailored to different alien biologies, communication networks the Council couldn't intercept. Most importantly, they mapped every piece of Council infrastructure, recording weaknesses and building a complete picture of the galaxy's most powerful alliance. Captain Elizabeth Rivera commanded the Shadow Fleet, ships that officially didn't exist. They operated from hidden bases, staffed by personnel who had supposedly retired or died. They trained for scenarios the Council couldn't imagine. Quick attacks, infrastructure sabotage, strikes against leadership. We're not trying to beat them in a fair fight, Admiral Hayes told her. We're trying to make them regret thinking humanity was easy prey. 12 years in, the first warning signs appeared. Ambassador Marcus Webb, having followed his father into diplomatic service, sat in a Council economic session when Councillor Vex casually suggested Earth might relocate some industry to Council space. For efficiency, he said. Marcus smiled and said they'd consider it, while internally, alarm bells rang. Moving industry meant dependence. Dependence meant control. The requests became more frequent. Could Earth share coordinates of resource deposits? Could human military units deploy to the far side of the galaxy? Would humanity consider moving its government to the Council capital? Each request was reasonable on the surface. Each was carefully disguised as an attempt to strip Earth's independence. And each was politely declined with excuses that seemed naive but were calculated to by time. 19 years after first contact, everything changed. Lieutenant Jack Harper, a human intelligence officer, embedded with Council security, intercepted a message not meant for human eyes. The subject was simple. Earth acquisition timeline, final draft. Jack read it 3 times, his blood running cold. Then he encrypted it and sent it directly to Marcus's web. Marcus read it during a diplomatic reception. He didn't let his expression change. The communication detailed how Earth would be conquered. The Krell and Quaylen had been planning for 7 years, timing it for when Earth's forces would be scattered. The human population would be humanely managed, another polite word for enslaved. Earth's resources would be divided. Marcus excused himself, walked to his quarters, and opened a channel to Earth. "It's time," he told Admiral Hayes. "We're going to move. We need to move first." The Grand Chamber descended into chaos the moment Marcus finished his presentation. 300 species, supposedly united in harmony for thousands of years, turned on each other with savage fury. The Krell representative lunged at the Qualan Chancellor. Security forces intervened. Within seconds, the chamber became a battlefield that hadn't been seen in Council history. High Chancellor Vex's voice boomed over the noise. "Order! Order!" But Marcus stood calmly in the center, watching. This was exactly what they expected. This was what they planned for. "Ambassador Webb?" Counselor Rill's voice cut through the chaos. "You've made serious accusations. But accusations need proof beyond intercepted messages. The Krell and Qualan deny everything." Marcus nodded slowly. "Of course they do. Just like they denied planning the conquest of the Veln Collective 40 years ago, right before the Veln mysteriously chose to dissolve their government and integrate with the Council." Veln representative went very still. Just like the Morphid Unity denied having weapons programs 60 years ago, right before their homeworld suffered a tragic accident with their own bioweapons, the chamber went silent. "Should I continue?" Marcus asked softly. "Because Earth's archives contain detailed records of every species absorbed or eliminated under Council Protect. Ion. 17 cases with documented evidence of the same pattern: welcome, integration, exploitation, elimination." High Prosecutor Torn slithered forward, his body coiling with rage. "You speak of our history as if it were proof of conspiracy, but you ignore context. The species you mention were genuine threats, and Earth," Marcus challenged. "What's our crime? Building defenses. Refusing to make ourselves vulnerable? Your crime," Vex snarled, "is deception. You claim to seek peace while building weapons that could threaten every species here. That makes you what we feared, a predator wearing a friendly face." Marcus laughed bitterly. "The irony is astounding. You're accusing us of being what you've been for thousands of years? The difference is, we were honest. We told you from the beginning that humanity had a violent past." He activated his risk communicator. "Captain Rivera, status report." Elizabeth's voice filled the chamber. "All Shadow Fleet assets deployed. Council monitoring stations are tracking 73 vessels. They seem surprised we have a functional military." Vex's scales flushed darker. "You've deployed a fleet." "This is an act of self-defense," Marcus cut him off. "Because 3 minutes ago, Krell forces began moving toward human space. Did you think we wouldn't notice, Chancellor? Did you think we'd sit here while you activated your attack plan early?" The chamber exploded in accusations and denials, but Marcus spoke over them all. "Here's what happens now. Earth withdraws from the Council effective immediately. We're taking our technology, our resources, our people. Any attempt to stop us will be met with force. Cannot simply leave," Rill said desperately. The treaty your organization used to trap dozens of species? That treaty?" Marcus shook his head. "We reject it. We reject your authority. And we reject the fiction that the Council is anything other than a protection racket." "You're bluffing," Vex said, uncertainty in his voice now. "One species cannot stand against the combined might of the Council. Your fleet will be destroyed. Your homeworld blockaded. You will submit or be eliminated." Marcus smiled. "That's the assumption, but you're forgetting something crucial." He nodded to his communicator. "Dr. Morgan, execute Phase 1. Back in the Sol System, 3,000 light-years away, Dr. Lisa Morgan stood in Earth's Defense Coordination Center. Around her, hundreds of technicians monitored the largest cyber warfare operation in human history. "Phase 1 authorized," she confirmed. "Initiating network cascade." Her fingers flew across controls, activating programs installed in Council systems over 20 years. Every joint research project, every technical collaboration, every helpful human engineer who assisted with Council infrastructure had been preparation for this moment. In the Grand Chamber, displays flickered and changed, showing real-time feeds from across Council space. Krell Prime's planetary shields dropping. The Quaylen shipyards locking down. Council Defense Network alarms blaring as unauthorized access was detected in 17,000 systems. Everywhere, the same message repeated. Humanity remembers. What is this? Torn hissed in horror. This, Marcus said quietly, is what humanity really built. Not weapons. Not ships. Access. We've been inside your systems for 2 decades. Every computer network, every defense grid, every communication relay. We can see everything. And as you're witnessing, we can control it. Counselor Bren frantically worked his communicator. My homeworld's orbital defenses are offline. How is this possible? It's possible because you trusted us, Marcus explained. You let human engineers help upgrade your systems. You shared technical specifications? You thought we were naive children who didn't understand. He walked slowly through the chamber, and Counselor shrank back. But we understood perfectly. Every backdoor you built, we found. Every security flaw, every vulnerability, every shortcut your engineers took because nobody would think to exploit it. We cataloged all of it. You're sabotaging critical infrastructure, Reel said, trembling. Billions depend on those systems. And they'll return to full functionality in 60 seconds, Marcus assured her. This is just a demonstration. We're showing you what we could do if we wanted harm. He stopped in the center. But we don't want harm. Despite everything, despite your plans to conquer us, we still want peace. We just want it on our terms. The systems came back online across Council space, exactly as promised. But the damage to the Council's confidence was permanent. If humanity could shut down planetary defenses at will, what else could they do? Marcus Admiral Hayes transmitted on a secure channel. Time for Phase 2. In the Grand Chamber, Marcus received the signal and nodded. The access we gained let us review your archives. The real archives. The ones you don't share with new members. He activated projectors again, and images appeared that made even hardened counselors react with shock. Detailed plans for integrating 43 species. Biological weapons targeting specific aliens. Strategies for manufacturing crises that would justify Council intervention. Evidence that Council leadership had systematically eliminated any species that grew too powerful. The Veln Collective didn't have weapons programs, Marcus said. You fabricated evidence to justify their conquest. The Morphid Plague wasn't an accident. You released it and then offered help, gaining complete access to their technology. He looked at Vex, at Torn, at Council members who'd been part of these atrocities. You're not peacemakers. You're an empire that learned to conquer through manipulation instead of invasion. The chamber descended into pandemonium. Species that had been allies for centuries turned on each other. Old grievances suddenly resurfaced. Through the chaos, Counselor Reel made her way to the floor. Her species had been founding members 3,000 years ago. They had believed in the dream. Ambassador Webb, she said, heavy with grief. Is this evidence authentic? Marcus met her eyes and saw the pain. Yes, we verified everything. I'm sorry. Then the council I believed in never existed. She turned to face them. The peaceful union withdraws its membership immediately. We will not be part of this perversion. 3 other counselors rose. Then 7 more. Within minutes, 43 species declared their withdrawal. Vex watched his power crumble. This is humanity's doing. They've poisoned you with fabrications. No, Marcus said quietly. We showed them truth. What they do with it is their choice. For a moment, the chamber teetered on complete collapse. Then Prosecutor Torn spoke, cold and deadly. Let them go. It doesn't matter, he turned to Marcus, eyes glowing with hatred. You think you've won, human? You're wrong. The core worlds command fleets, numbering hundreds of thousands. Weapons that have ended civilizations. You've made us look weak. You've humiliated us. And for that, Earth will burn. And there it is, Marcus said softly. The mask drops completely. No more pretense. just naked truth of what the Council really is. He activated his communicator. Captain Rivera, are you recording? Every word, Elizabeth confirmed. Broadcasting to every independent species in the galaxy. Torn realized his mistake too late. His threat had just been transmitted to billions. Every species that feared the Council had heard the organization's true nature stated plainly. You're clever, Torn acknowledged. But cleverness won't save you. Maybe not, Marcus agreed. But it bought us something valuable. Allies. While you've been threatening us. 37 species sent encrypted messages to Earth. They're offering support, intelligence, resources, safe harbors. He looked around. That's the thing about predators. They're terrifying alone. But when prey species work together, suddenly the predator doesn't look invincible. Vex rose to his full height. Enough posturing. The Council declares Earth in violation of treaty and a threat to stability. He pointed at Marcus. You have 1 hour to surrender and order Earth's disarmament. If you refuse, our combined fleets will move on human space. Your homeworld will be blockaded. Your colonies seized. Your species will learn what happens to those who defy the natural order. Marcus stood still. This was the moment. Everything had been building to this. He could surrender. Earth would be absorbed. Humanity would lose independence, but they would survive in some form. Or he could stand firm, knowing war would follow. He thought about his father, who started this plan with a simple premise. Humanity would rather die free than live as slaves. He thought about billions of humans trusting their leadership. He thought about thousands of species watching, wondering if anyone could stand up to the Council. He made his choice. No, Marcus said simply. No. Vex repeated. No, we won't surrender. We won't disarm. We won't submit. Earth stands free, alone, if necessary. He straightened. But know this, Chancellor. If you move against humanity, you won't face a naive species. You'll face 10,000 years of human warfare evolution. You'll face a species that learned to split atoms just to kill each other. You'll face people who looked at weapons capable of ending all life and said not destructive enough. His eyes blazed. We didn't want this. We tried your way. We tried harmony. We wanted to be better. But if you force us to show our other side, then God help us all. He walked toward the exit. The hour starts now, Vex called. When it expires, we'll show you the consequences of defiance. Marcus paused and looked back. I'm counting on it. Because humanity has always risen to meet our enemies. And the Council just became enemy number 1. The doors sealed with final IT that echoed across the galaxy. The Council war fleet assembled in the Keth system. A gathering of military might not seen in over 1,000 years. Fleet Admiral Kex of the Quaylen hierarchy stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Inevitable, watching ships arrive through jump points. 500 vessels in the first wave alone. Cruisers the size of cities. Carriers holding thousands of fighters. Weapons platforms capable of destroying planets from orbit. This is excessive, his tactical officer observed. Intelligence suggests Earth has perhaps 70 combat vessels. We're bringing 7 fleets. After the humiliation at the Council? Kex's jaw clicked angrily. After they exposed our operations and turned half the Council against us? We're not just destroying their military. We're erasing any memory of human defiance. He pulled up a display showing Earth's solar system. Besides, the humans proved deceptive. I'd rather bring overwhelming force than discover too late they had more capabilities. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth, the communications officer reported. Text only. Kex read it and laughed harshly. They want to negotiate. The fools still think they can talk their way out.
What should we reply?
Nothing. Let silence be our answer. He turned to his commanders. All vessels, prepare to jump to human space. Orders are clear. Complete military destruction, followed by occupation. The humans will learn what happens when prey bares its teeth. Captain Elizabeth Rivera stood on the bridge of the Earthship Defiance, humanity's largest combat vessel. Around her, the crew worked with practiced efficiency, but she felt the tension in the air. They all knew what was coming. Council fleet jumping in 3 minutes, her tactical officer reported. They're coming in battle formations. Weapons primed. Good, Elizabeth said calmly. Let them be aggressive. Angry enemies make mistakes. Her first officer, Commander Jack Torres, gave her a worried look. Ma'am, we're outnumbered 7-1. We're not trying to win a fleet engagement, Jack. We're trying to make them regret starting one. She activated ship-wide communications. All hands, this is the captain. In 2 minutes, the council jumps into our system, expecting quick victory. They think we're scared. They think we're desperate. They think because we tried harmony first, we don't remember how to fight. She paused. Let's remind them why humanity spent 10,000 years perfecting warfare. The council fleet materialized at the edge of Earth's solar system in perfect formation. 500 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, sensors immediately scanning for targets. What they found made no sense. Admiral Kex's tactical officer said slowly, We're detecting only 12 human vessels. They're scattered across the system like they're on patrol. 12 ships against 500, Kex mused. Either they're insane or they're bait. Should we hold position? No. We jump to their homeworld and end this quickly. I won't give them time to spring whatever trap they prepared. The fleet initiated its second jump, targeting Earth directly. But as they entered faster than light, every sensor screamed warnings. They emerged into hell. The space around Earth wasn't empty. It was filled with hundreds of thousands of objects, each no larger than a human fist. Invisible to conventional sensors, because they weren't active until the moment the Council fleet appeared. Autonomous mines. Seeded over months. Activated by the specific energy signature of Council. Faster than light drives. The first wave of explosions tore through the Council vanguard. Not enough to destroy the massive dreadnoughts, but enough to damage shields, disable weapons, create chaos in formations, and countermeasures. Kex roared. All ships activate point defense. The second wave detonated. These weren't standard explosives. They were electromagnetic pulse weapons, designed to overwhelm Council's shield generators based on detailed technical specifications. Humanity obtained over 20 years. 70 ships went dark. Systems temporarily offline, and then the real attack began. They came from every direction at once. Not ships, but drones. Thousands of them. Each one small enough to avoid point defense. Fast enough to close distance before countermeasures could respond. Smart enough to coordinate attacks with terrifying efficiency. This is impossible, Kex's tactical officer gasped. They'd need processing power equal to prohibited Class 5 artificial intelligence to coordinate this many units. Humans don't care about our prohibitions, Kex snarled. All ships form defensive spheres. The drones weren't attacking ships directly. They were attacking specific systems, using precise targeting data that should have been classified. Shield generators. Weapons arrays. Communication relays. The drones knew exactly where to hit. 70 ships became 140, then 200. Not destroyed, the Council vessels were too well armored, but crippled. Bleeding atmosphere and energy, and through it all, the 12 human ships maintained their positions, not even engaging. Just watching, Admiral, we're being hailed. The communications officer reported. It's the humans. Kex almost refused, but curiosity won. Put them through. Captain Elizabeth Rivera's face appeared. She looked calm, almost bored. Fleet Admiral Kex, welcome to the Sol system. I trust you're enjoying the reception? Cheap tricks, Kex spat. Mines and drones. You've damaged maybe 40% of my fleet. The rest are more than sufficient to destroy Earth. Probably, but that's not the point. Elizabeth leaned forward. See, we studied your tactics. The Council has fought the same way for thousands of years. Big ships. Direct confrontations. Overwhelming force. It works great against species who fight the same way. But humanity? We learned long ago you don't need to destroy an enemy to defeat them. You just need to make victory more costly than they're willing to pay. You cannot possibly believe those drones that hit you. They cost us about 2,000 credits each. Your dreadnought. Several billion by our estimates. So for the price of one of your ships, we can build 1 million drones. How's your math looking? Kex felt ice in his gut. And that's just wave 1, Elizabeth continued. We've got 6 more waves positioned throughout the system, each one different, each designed to exploit specific vulnerabilities in Council military doctrine. By the time you fight through them all, and you will eventually, you'll have lost maybe 60% of your fleet. Still enough to bombard Earth? Sure. But then what? She pulled up a star chart. While you're here bleeding forces dry against automated defenses, other human colonies are mobilizing. We've got shipyards pumping out drones by the millions. We've got allies providing intelligence and resources. And we have access to every council system. We can cause chaos across your entire territory whenever we want. You're bluffing, am I? Elizabeth nodded off screen, and suddenly Kex's displays lit up with alerts from across council space. Manufacturing facilities experiencing malfunctions, power grids fluctuating, communication networks degrading. Nothing catastrophic, just enough to prove the point. Now this can stop right now, Elizabeth said. You withdraw your fleet. We withdraw our attacks. We agree to mutual non-aggression. You leave us alone, we leave you alone. Everyone goes home, and if we refuse, Elizabeth's expression hardened. Then we show you what asymmetric warfare looks like when the weaker side has better technology, better intelligence, and nothing to lose. Kex cut the transmission and looked at his command staff. They were all thinking the same thing. The human was right. They could win this battle. They could probably destroy Earth. But the cost? Sir, priority communications from the Krell Dominion, his communications officer reported. Their industrial centers are experiencing cascading failures. They're demanding we disengage and defend the homeworlds. The Quailon trade networks are collapsing, another officer added. Someone corrupted the routing algorithms. Ships are getting lost and faster than light, cargo being misdirected enough. Kex roared. He saw it now. The humans never intended to win a direct military confrontation. They planned something far more sophisticated, distributed warfare that attacked not ships, but infrastructure. Not soldiers, but systems. His tactical officer spoke quietly. Admiral, if we press the attack here, we leave core worlds vulnerable. And if the humans maintain this disruption level, the economic damage alone could destabilize half the council. They're one species, Kex said, but his voice lacked conviction. They're one species with 20 years of access to our most critical systems, the tactical officer corrected. They've been preparing since the day they joined us. For a long moment, Kex considered his options. Retreat would be humiliating. But pushing forward could be catastrophic if the humans' threat was real. The decision was made for him, sir. The sensor officer shouted. Multiple jump signatures. 43 new contacts entering the system. Kex's blood ran cold. Had humanity hidden more ships? But the vessels that appeared weren't human. They were peaceful Union ships, Rill's species, along with representatives from the other. 42 species that withdrew from the council. Rill's voice came over general communications. This is Counselor Rill to all vessels. We are here as neutral observers to ensure this conflict doesn't escalate beyond control. Any attack on civilian populations will be met with intervention. You have no authority here. Kex snarled. We have the authority of conscience, Rill replied calmly. And we have backing from 73 additional species watching this confrontation carefully. If E-Council chooses to massacre civilians rather than negotiate, you'll find your alliance shrinking rapidly. It was a masterful political move, and Kex knew it. Humanity positioned themselves as victims, the Council as aggressors. Every action he took now would be witnessed and judged. But High Chancellor Vex, watching from Council Central, wasn't interested in political considerations. He ordered his staff exchanged horrified looks. Chancellor, that weapon is exactly what we need to end this farce. Vex cut him off. The humans want to play with technology. Let's show them what superior technology actually looks like. The silencer had been the Council's ultimate deterrent for 3,000 years. A weapon so powerful its existence was kept secret from all but the inner circle. It could project a field disabling all electrical systems across an entire solar system. Ships, weapons, computers, communications. Everything would go dark, and in that darkness, Council forces would move in with purely mechanical weapons and end the threat forever. The order was transmitted. Deep in Krell space, a ship that officially didn't exist began charging its primary weapon. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Morgan watched the energy signatures and smiled grimly. "They're deploying the silencer," she reported to Admiral Hayes. "We expected they might," Hayes replied. "Is our counter ready?" "Has been for 3 years. The moment we discovered it in their archives, we started working on defense." She pulled up specifications. "The silencer works by inducing quantum cascade in electromagnetic systems. Brutal but elegant. And our counter? We don't counter it. We survive it." She activated a system-wide broadcast. "All personnel, all vessels, all installations, execute protocol Dark Winter." Across Earth and its colonies, humans began shutting down every electrical system. Ships went to backup mechanical controls. Cities activated stored energy reserves. Everything that could be hardened against electromagnetic disruption was prepared. The Council had a weapon that could turn off an entire civilization's technology. But humanity had lived through ice ages and practiced for the day when power went out. When the silencer activated, its effect was immediate and total. Every electrical system within 10 light hours went dead. Council ships drifted. Their crews shocked that their own weapon caught them too. But humanity's ships kept moving on mechanical backups. Their weapons kept firing using chemical propellants and kinetic systems. Their communications continued via old-fashioned laser transmission. "Possible," Kex whispered, watching his human drones, now operating on pre-programmed instructions rather than remote control, continued their assault on his helpless fleet. On Earth, people emerged from shelters to see a sky filled with stars for the first time in decades. Cities were dark, but generators hummed to life. Food stored for this purpose was distributed. And the military, operating from hardened bunkers, using technology from Earth's 20th century, continued coordinating defense. They built redundancy, Kex realized. Every system has a backup. Every technology has a low-tech alternative. They're fighting us with weapons that don't need electricity. His tactical officer nodded slowly. They studied our most powerful weapons and planned for them. They knew we'd eventually use the silencer, and they prepared to fight without any technology it would disable. For the first time in his long military career, Fleet Admiral Kex understood what it meant to face a species that evolved in constant warfare. Humans didn't just prepare for expected battles. They prepared for battles they couldn't imagine, and they'd beaten the Council's ultimate weapon by doing something unthinkable. They made themselves able to survive without technology entirely, as the silencer's effect began to fade. It couldn't maintain the field indefinitely. Kex made his decision. "Signal the fleet," he said quietly. "We're withdrawing, sir." "We're withdrawing. The humans are correct. We can destroy them, but the cost is too high. And if we waste our strength here, every species in the galaxy will know we're vulnerable." Council ships began limping toward jump points. Elizabeth Rivera broadcast one final message. "Fleet Admiral Kex, thank you for the demonstration. You've shown the galaxy what the Council becomes when challenged. We've shown them what humanity becomes when forced to fight. Let history decide which is more terrifying." "And Admiral, tell your superiors this doesn't end here. Earth will remember. Humanity will prepare. And if the Council ever moves against us again, we won't just defend ourselves. We'll show you our other side." 3 months after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy had changed forever. In the Grand Chamber, now considerably emptier, High Chancellor Vex faced a reality he never imagined. The Council was crumbling. 67 species had formally withdrawn membership. Another 112 suspended participation, pending review of organizational charter. The remaining core worlds, the Krell, the Qualan, the Torn Imperative, and their closest allies, maintained allegiance. But even they were fractured by internal debate. The economic disruptions are getting worse. His economic advisor reported during an emergency session. Human cyber warfare teams are still embedded in our systems. Every time we root them out of one network, they appear in another. Trade is down 47%. Manufacturing efficiency has dropped to levels we haven't seen in centuries. And militarily? Vex asked, dreading the answer. Fleet morale is devastated. We lost 17 ships in the engagement, hundreds more damaged, and achieved nothing. Our soldiers are asking why they should risk their lives to punish a species that only defended itself. X's appendages trembled with suppressed rage. The humans attacked our infrastructure. Only after we attempted to invade their homeworld, his military advisor pointed out quietly. Chancellor, we need to face reality. The humans proved they can hurt us badly without ever destroying a single world. As long as they have access to our systems, then we eliminate that access. We've been trying for 3 months. They're better at cyber warfare than we are. Better than anyone is. They've had 200 years of digital evolution compressed into constant global warfare. Every human grows up surrounded by technology they know how to exploit. We can't compete. While the council struggled, something new was emerging. Counselor Reel stood before representatives from 93 species in a conference hall in the neutral world of Sal. These were species that had withdrawn from the council, plus dozens more that never joined, all gathered to discuss an alternative. We've all seen what the council truly is, she began. An empire that maintained the illusion of democracy while concentrating power in a few aggressive species. They kept us peaceful by making us dependent, then used that dependence to control us. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood beside her. He'd recovered from his injuries. The escape from Council Central had been harrowing, and now represented Earth at these historic talks. But the Council showed us something else, Marcus added. They showed us that no single species, no matter how powerful, can control the galaxy if the rest refuse to be controlled. They retreated from Sol not because we destroyed their fleet, but because they realized we could make their empire ungovernable. He activated a holographic display showing trade networks, defense agreements, and cultural exchanges. So we're proposing something different. Not a government pretending to be democratic while actually being authoritarian. Not a protective alliance that's really a protection racket. We're proposing actual cooperation between truly independent species. A representative from the Vulcan cluster, a species absorbed by the Council 50 years ago, stood. How do we prevent this new alliance from becoming what the Council became? How do we ensure it doesn't simply replace one empire with another? By learning from their mistakes, Rill answered. The Council failed because it centralized power, because it made species dependent, because it punished independence and rewarded submission. She displayed a proposed charter. This alliance will have no central authority, no council that can override member sovereignty, no mutual defense pact that can justify conquest. Just species agreeing to cooperate on specific issues while maintaining complete control over their own destinies. And Earth supports this? The Vulcan representative asked Marcus. Earth wants what we've always wanted, Marcus replied. To be left alone to build our civilization in peace. But we learned we can't have that unless the galaxy as a whole is structured to respect independence. So yes, we support this. And we'll contribute our technology, our resources, and our expertise to make it work. Including your cyber warfare capabilities? Someone asked pointedly. Marcus smiled. We'll share defensive techniques? How to harden systems against intrusion. How to detect unauthorized access. How to maintain technological independence. What we won't share are offensive capabilities we developed specifically to fight the Council, because you might need them again, the Vulcan representative observed. Because the galaxy hasn't proven it's ready for that kind of power in anyone's hands, Marcus corrected. Not ours, not yours, not anyone's. Maybe someday, but not yet. On Earth, the aftermath of battle was being fiercely debated. Secretary General Thomas Rivers addressed the Global Assembly. Knowing humanity stood at a crossroads, we won, he began. We stood against the galaxy's most powerful alliance and forced them to retreat. We proved humanity can defend itself. that we and be bullied or conquered. But now we must decide, what kind of species do we want to be? Dr. Lisa Morgan, now Director of Galactic Security, outlined the options. We have 3 paths forward. First, we can isolate. Cut ourselves off from galactic society completely, rely on our own resources, build our strength in secret. It's the safest option, but also the loneliest. Second, Admiral Hayes continued, we can dominate. We have capabilities no other species possesses. We could build an empire if we wanted. Force the galaxy to accept our terms. Become what we fought against. Third, Marcus Webb concluded, via holographic link, we can lead. Not through force, but through example. Show the galaxy there's a better way to organize civilization. That cooperation doesn't require submission. That peace doesn't mean vulnerability. The debate raged for weeks. The isolationists argued humanity had been lucky, that next time the Council would be prepared. The militarists insisted the only way to ensure Earth's safety was to break the Council completely, to become the dominant power before someone else did. The cooperationists believed humanity had a responsibility to help build something better. In the end, it was the voices of ordinary humans that decided. We spent 10,000 years killing each other. A young woman from Mumbai told the assembly, we nearly destroyed our own planet a dozen times. We reached the stars because we were trying to escape our own violence. And now we have a chance to prove we've actually learned something, to show we can be better. If we become conquerors, if we build an empire, then what was the point? The vote was close, but the cooperationists won. Earth would help build the new alliance, but they would do it carefully, maintaining their independence, keeping their defenses strong, never forgetting the lessons they learned about galactic politics 6 months after the Battle of Sol. Vex received a message that changed everything. It was from Marcus Webb, and it was deceptively simple. We need to talk. They met on a neutral station in unclaimed space. Just the two of them, with security forces from both sides maintaining watchful positions at a distance. You humiliated us, Vex said without preamble. You tried to enslave us, Marcus countered. I'd say we're even. What do you want, human? Marcus pulled up a holographic display. This is the current state of the galaxy. The Council controls maybe 40% of civilized space, down from 95% 6 months ago. Your economy is in free fall. Your military is demoralized. And every day, more species join the new alliance we're building. No. Offering you a way out. Vex's scales rippled with suspicion. Explain the Council can't continue as it was. You know that. We know that. Everyone knows that. But complete collapse would destabilize the entire galaxy. Wars would break out. Old grievances would resurface. Billions would die. Marcus leaned forward. So here's the offer. The Council reforms. Real reforms, not cosmetic changes. Democratic governance with actual checks on power. An end to exploitation of member species. Transparency about operations and decision-making. In return, we don't push for complete dissolution. We allow the Council to survive in a reduced form. And if we refuse, then we keep doing what we've been doing. Peeling away your allies one by one. Undermining your infrastructure. Making your empire ungovernable until it collapses on its own. But that way is messier. More violent. More likely to spiral into something nobody can control. Vex studied the human for a long moment. Why offer this? You have us on the defensive. You could finish us. Because, Marcus said quietly, we're not trying to destroy you. We never were. We just wanted to be left alone. We wanted the Council to be what it claimed, a force for stability and cooperation. If real reform can make that happen, we'd rather have that than chaos. He stood. Talk to your allies, Chancellor. Really talk to them. Ask them if they want to keep fighting a war they can't win, or if they'd rather adapt to a galaxy where power is more distributed and species are more independent. You have 1 month to decide. The Inner Council of the Council met for 7 days straight. The debates were bitter, sometimes violent. The old guard wanted to fight to salvage what they could of their power. The pragmatists recognized the galaxy had changed, and they needed to change with it. In the end, it was Counselor Bren who made the decisive argument. We spent 3,000 years building the council because we remembered the chaos before it. The endless wars, the genocides, the civilizations that went extinct because they were alone and vulnerable. We created structure because the galaxy needed structure. He looked around the table at his fellow counselors. But we forgot why we built it. We started believing our own mythology. We convinced ourselves control was the same as protection. That dependence was the same as cooperation. The humans reminded us painfully that there's a difference. So we surrender? Prosecutor Torn spat. No, we evolve. We become what we should have been all along. A genuine alliance based on mutual benefit, not coercion. It's that or extinction. The vote was narrow, but it passed. 1 year after the Battle of Sol, representatives from 417 species gathered on Earth for the founding of the Galactic Cooperation Pact. It wasn't a government. It wasn't an empire. It was exactly what Marcus proposed. A framework for cooperation between independent species, trade agreements, technology sharing, diplomatic protocols, mutual assistance in times of crisis. But no central authority, no power to override member sovereignty, no structure that could be hijacked by aggressive species. The council still existed, but in radically reduced form. Vex had resigned, placed by a coalition government that actually represented member species rather than just the powerful core worlds. They maintained some authority in their traditional sphere of influence, but as partners rather than overlords. And humanity had become something unexpected. Not conquerors, not isolationists, but architects of a new galactic order. We tried harmony first, Marcus Webb said in his address to the assembled species. We came to you offering friendship and cooperation. When that was exploited, when we realized the game was rigged, we prepared to defend ourselves. We showed you our other side, the violent, strategic, ruthless side that humanity spent millennia developing. He looked out at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. But that was never the side we wanted to show. We wanted to be better. We wanted to prove a species could evolve past its violent nature. So now, having demonstrated we can fight, that we can survive, that we can't be controlled, we're choosing to build instead of destroy, to cooperate instead of dominate, to lead by example instead of force. And if someone threatens that, Riel asked from her place of honor, if aggressive species arise again? Marcus smiled, and there was steel in his expression. Then we'll remind them why humanity survived 10,000 years of warfare, why we reached the stars despite almost destroying ourselves, why we're the species that looked at the atom and figured out how to split it just to kill each other. He let that sink in. We tried harmony. We're still trying harmony. But we're no longer naive about it. We know what we are. We know what we're capable of. And anyone who mistakes our preference for peace as weakness will meet humanity's other side. The transmission from Earth reached every corner of the galaxy. Final message from Earth. We tried harmony. And we're still trying. We came to the stars hoping to be better than what we were. We wanted to join a galactic community based on cooperation and mutual respect. When we found that community didn't exist, we could have become conquerors. We had the capability. We had the justification. But that's not who we want to be. So we're building something different. An alliance of truly independent species. A galaxy where cooperation is voluntary, where power is distributed, where no single faction can dominate all others. We invite anyone who shares this vision to join us. But know this, humanity has proven we can defend ourselves. We've shown we can hurt even the most powerful alliance without firing more than a handful of shots. We've demonstrated that superior technology and better strategy can overcome overwhelming numbers. We prefer peace, but we're prepared for war. We seek cooperation, but we're ready for conflict. We tried harmony, but if you force us to show our other side, the side that evolved, through 10,000 years of constant warfare, the side that weaponized everything from sharp sticks to nuclear fire. You'll discover why humans are the species that survived when every logical prediction said we should have gone extinct. The galaxy has met humanity, the diplomat, the scientist, the artist, the dreamer who reached for the stars. Pray you never meet humanity, the warrior, because that side of us, that side doesn't lose. 5 years later, Earth's first truly civilian deep space vessel departed from Luna Station, carrying families, scientists, artists, and dreamers to a colony world in the new Alliance Zone. The ship was unarmed, relying on the network of treaties and mutual agreements that now crisscross the galaxy. On the observation deck, a young girl pressed her face against the viewport, watching Earth recede into the distance. "Dad," she asked her father, "is it true what they say about the war? That we almost got conquered?" Her father, a veteran of the Shadow Fleet, knelt beside her. "It's true, but we won. We survived. That's better than winning." Why? He thought about how to explain it. Because when you win a war, you prove you're stronger. But when you survive despite being weaker, you prove you're smarter. You prove you can adapt. And that's what humans do best. Are we safe now? He looked out at the stars, at the galaxy that humanity had helped reshape. Safer than we were? We have allies now. Real ones. And we have respect, even from our enemies. But safe? Safety is something you build every day. By staying vigilant, by maintaining our strength, by never forgetting what we learned. What did we learn? That peace is a choice, not a weakness. That cooperation requires strength, not submission. And that humanity can be whatever we choose to be. But we can never forget what we're capable of when survival demands it. The ship accelerated toward jump speed, carrying its passengers toward a future that humanity had fought to ensure. Behind them, Earth rotated in silent glory, a blue jewel that had nearly been conquered. But it had instead become the catalyst for galactic transformation, and in secret bases throughout the solar system. In hidden facilities and classified projects, humanity continued to prepare. Not for conquest, not for dominance, but for survival. Because they'd learned the most important lesson of all. The price of peace is eternal vigilance. The galaxy had finally met both sides of humanity, the harmonious and the ruthless, the cooperative and the strategic, the peaceful and the prepared. And they'd learned to respect both. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5